Why do you lie like this, Blake? Why? Why do you do this? Do you understand? You are not smarter than the internet. They're both narcissists. The public noticed that things were weird and things began to backfire on you, okay? Are being so wildly manipulative and dishonest as they have been since the beginning of this entire process.
Context of that exchange shows that they're out there combating lies.
Girl bossing it. They're just like, wear your florals. We're gonna file an amendment. It's gonna be cute. We're gonna give you so much emotion. It's gonna feel good. Yeah, the public noticed. The public noticed that things were weird and things began to backfire on you.
Blakelively thought she had it all figured out. A carefully crafted lawsuit, a PR machine ready to spin her narrative, and a public eager to believe her. But what she didn't count on was the internet. In what's being called one of the most dramatic legal backfires in Hollywood history, Blake's lawsuit against Justin Baldoni has turned into a full-blown scandal. From fake evidence to deleted texts, and even a rumored smear campaign involving Taylor Swift. The lawsuit claimed that Baldoni created a hostile work environment, violated boundaries, and failed to provide proper safety measures on set. Blake painted herself as a victim, claiming she was uncomfortable during intimate scenes, and that Baldoni ignored her concerns. But here's the thing, her claims didn't add up. For starters, Blake's lawsuit was filled with dramatic language but lacked concrete evidence. She claimed there was no intimacy coordinator on set, which is a huge red flag in Hollywood. But as we'll soon find out, that wasn't entirely true. What's more, Blake's initial legal action was a complaint filed with the California Civil Rights Department on December 20th, 2024, followed by a lawsuit in New York federal court on December 31st, 2024. Legal experts called this forum shopping, a tactic used when someone knows their case is weak. And if Blake's case was so strong,
saying all that the fact that they got this is false, that they engaged in criminal alteration, it's false.
Why she's setting this up is she says, now I have to take steps to protect innocent bystanders rather than exposing them to further harm, because she's now using this to explain away why no one's joining in on her lawsuit, okay? They're setting that up right at the beginning. They're essentially, no one's gonna join in, but just so you know, this is to protect.
What do you want men to take away from this film?
I want men, first of all, I want men to stop asking the question, why do women stay?
Yeah.
I want men to take accountability. I want men to hold other men accountable.
They're just pulling this clip out of obscurity. So what are we to assume that he's speaking about? Well, it turns out he's speaking about his character, Ryle, and they're asking him a question in the context of domestic violence.
why was she running from one courtroom to another? One of the biggest bombshells in this case was the revelation that Blake allegedly submitted fake evidence. In her original complaint, she included text messages that made Baldoni look guilty. But when the public started digging, they noticed something strange. Those texts were mysteriously missing from her amended complaint. No specific text messages from her original complaint have been publicly confirmed to include phrases like, Baldoni doesn't realize how lucky he is right now, or we need to press on him how effing lucky, as these do not match documented evidence. So why would Blake delete these messages unless they contradicted her story?
They are being so wildly manipulative and dishonest as they have been since the beginning of this entire process that they are literally mining clips on the internet, taking them out of context so that they can produce a narrative that reads like a script to.
Legal analysts believe she got caught manipulating evidence to fit her narrative. And it gets worse. An entire section from page 44 of her original complaint, which helped build her dramatic story, was also removed. Blake claimed she was protecting innocent bystanders, but the truth is she was protecting herself. If those texts were real proof, why erase them? The answer is simple. They weren't real, and Blake knew it. Blake's next move was even more suspicious. She claimed that multiple women felt uncomfortable on set and would testify at trial. But here's the catch. She didn't provide any names, statements, or proof. Instead, she said these witnesses would only come forward after she subpoenaed them against their will. Let's be real. If these women truly supported Blake,
He removed he doesn't realize how lucky he is right now. We need to press on him how effing lucky. The whispering in the ear, the connotations, the JFC, other members feeling uncomfortable watching it. I mean, there's just so. You'd think these texts would be very important in her new amended complaint, but she's removed them. They're not in this complaint at all now. And part of the reason is probably because Justin revealed the context of these texts, because they did look. Justin's publicists are saying it doesn't even matter if it's not true. And so the context of that exchange shows that they're out there combating lies.
why wouldn't they speak up voluntarily? The answer is clear. They don't exist, or they don't support her claims. What's even more telling is that Blake outed these so-called witnesses herself in past leaks. There's no documented evidence that Blake mentioned a young actress who played the underage version of Lily Bloom, such as Isabella Ferreri, in any leaks.
He is now making it clear there are other women who felt uncomfortable on the set and that they will testify at trial. Now, that would seem damning, but she doesn't really offer any specifics. She doesn't provide any text. She doesn't tell us who these people are. Just says they don't want to get involved right now, given all the toxic virality out there. So the fact that Blake removed these texts in the new amended complaint, seemingly not wanting to argue that point, is very telling to me. And it's not the only one. There's another text later on. Here it is on page 44. Is comparing. These were all...
You understand, you are not smarter than the internet. You didn't protect anybody. You came this close to saying their names because you wanted people to know exactly who you were talking about, okay?
So much for protecting anonymity, right? Blake's attempt to create an army of invisible witnesses backfired, and now she's left scrambling to explain why no one is standing by her side. Blake didn't stop at the lawsuit. She and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, allegedly orchestrated a coordinated PR campaign to destroy Baldoni's reputation. No HR complaints against Baldoni were leaked by Blake's team in August 2023. Her legal action began in December 2024, and Baldoni's countersuit alleges a smear campaign by Lively instead. But here's the problem. Wayfarer Studios and Sony immediately denied the existence of these complaints. If they were real, why wouldn't the studios back them up? Because they were completely fabricated. But the real kicker was the mass unfollowing of Justin Baldoni on social media. Suddenly, a ton of cast and crew members stopped following him at the exact same time.
It doesn't include the subpoena. We don't know what the subpoena is. That's still the big question, Blake. You haven't provided anything to prove otherwise.
The way they use language, it's just so wildly manipulative. 6 in this lawsuit says the dangerous climate of threats, harassment, and intimidation fueled by the defendant's retaliation campaign has required Ms. Lively to alter her personal and professional life. Nothing to do with the lawsuit, has nothing to do with anything that Justin Baldoni has ever done. Rather, they decided to go back and find a TEDx talk that Justin Baldoni gave 5 years ago about how he was able to better his relationship.
This was so obviously staged, yet Blake tried to act like it was just a coincidence. And let's not forget the Deadpool premiere, where there's no evidence Ryan Reynolds flew out multiple cast members as a reward for joining an anti-Baldoni campaign. One of Blake's key claims was that there was no intimacy coordinator on set, which made her feel unsafe during filming. But here's the truth. Justin Baldoni offered to introduce her to the intimacy coordinator before filming even started. And what did Blake say? I'm all good. That's right. She flat out refused to meet with the coordinator. So why is she now claiming there was none? If she was really uncomfortable, wouldn't she jump at the chance to discuss boundaries before filming began? What's even more suspicious is that Blake filmed multiple intimate scenes with Baldoni after the one she now claims made her uncomfortable. If she was truly violated, why would she continue working with him? The answer is simple. Blake wasn't uncomfortable when it benefited her. But the second she needed leverage in her lawsuit, suddenly she's playing the damsel in distress. But this is just the beginning. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into claims about Blake's interactions with Isabella Ferrer, her appearance on SNL, and Taylor Swift's alleged involvement in the scandal. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over. If you thought Blake's manipulation stopped at fake evidence and PR stunts, think again. One of the most disturbing parts of this story...
It goes on and reads, thus, this amended complaint does not refer to certain witnesses by name, nor does it provide screenshots of their text messages. Importantly, however, these witnesses have given Ms. Lively permission to share the substance of their communications. Let's now move on to point 6 of this, because this is where it gets interesting. Again, it's the way they use language. It's just so wildly manipulative. I don't know how her professional and personal life was altered. It didn't look that way to me when she was posing on the red carpet with her husband and mocking the situation. But like, you didn't even need good lawyers. You just needed men who didn't want to go through the court system, and the women who were saying, well, we're going to come at you with sexual harassment and ruin your lives. And I'm thinking these are the kinds of lawyers and PR people that she has. Ryan Freeman went through and thoroughly debunked these points. We've read the messages, sweetheart, okay? We know you said no to the intimacy coordinator. We know that it made no sense that you were then saying there must be an intimacy coordinator on set at all times. Comfortable, I guess they were aware of the hypocrisy of SNL kind of standing on this ground of no bullies for years, and then suddenly hosting Blake and Ryan when people could read their text messages, bullying Justin Baldoni.
Is how she allegedly used Isabella Ferrera, the young actress who played the underage version of Lily Bloom, In asterisk it ends with us asterisk. Blake didn't just work with Isabella, she love-bombed her, treating her like a new little sister. But this wasn't about kindness. It was about control. Blake showered Isabella with gifts, bought her clothes, and even invited her over for sleepovers. For a young actress in Hollywood, this would feel like a dream come true. But here's the kicker. Blake allegedly told Isabella that Taylor Swift personally picked her for the role. Let that sink in. Taylor Swift, one of the biggest names in the world, supposedly handpicked Isabella for this film. For a young star, that's like winning the lottery. But was it even true? Or was this just another calculated move by Blake to make Isabella feel indebted to her? Fast forward to the lawsuit, and suddenly Isabella is expected to back Blake up. But here's the problem. Blake outed Isabella herself in past leaks, claiming she was one of the witnesses who felt uncomfortable on set. So much for protecting her anonymity, right? Blake's love bombing wasn't about mentorship. It was about grooming Isabella into loyalty. And now that Blake needs support, Isabella is left holding the bag. Blake and Ryan Reynolds thought they could turn the tide with a carefully crafted appearance on Asterisk Saturday Night Live. Asterisk, this was supposed to be their big comeback moment, a chance to reclaim their image and make the public forget about the lawsuit. But instead, it turned into a full-blown PR nightmare.
She's not being held captive by Ryan Reynolds, okay? They're both narcissists. All of this will most importantly be untraceable. And then they include a line there that says, Ms. Abel described it. The plan was to engage in social media mitigation and to counter negative as well as social manipulation. Blakelively looked uncomfortable. There were various moments where I was like, she does not look like she is comfortable. She is very aware that the public does not like her right now. But in case you felt even a modicum of sadness for her, you can just go ahead and wipe it away, because when we get further into this complaint, you're gonna realize that she's not being held captive by Ryan Reynolds, okay? Then you're gonna go, as you guys did, and they proved in the background, I want this, I want that. If I don't get what I want, I'm not gonna show up. He has to be put into the basement. So why are you bolding that? Get somebody brighter, seriously.
But instead, it turned into a full-blown PR nightmare. Ryan Reynolds, ever the narcissist, rewrote the SNL script himself to include a joke about Justin Baldoni's lawsuit. Imagine being so desperate for public approval that you have to force the audience to laugh at your legal mess. But did it work? Absolutely not. The performance bombed, and the audience wasn't laughing. They were cringing. You could feel the awkwardness in the room as Blake and Ryan tried to make light of a situation that's anything but funny. What's even more telling is Blake's body language during the whole thing. While Ryan was soaking up the spotlight, Blake looked like she wanted to disappear. There were multiple moments where she seemed uncomfortable. And it's not hard to guess why. She knew the public was turning on her, and this SNL appearance only made things worse.
Who was it, Blake, that led the mass unfollow of Baldoni that created the crisis situation in the first place? Who was it, Blake, who, despite you saying you got everything you wanted, made the decision that you guys could not do any PR together anywhere? Who made that decision? Who made that decision? Was it you?
I am doing my part, trying to be a feminist, amplifying the voices of women around the world, and yet at home, I am using my louder voice to silence the woman I love the most. I had to ask myself a tough question. Am I man enough to just shut the hell up and listen?
That's what they thought. They were like, we got him. We found this thing from 7 or 8 years ago on TEDx, and we're gonna quote it as if it has anything to do with this lawsuit, as if it could be evidentiary for anything that we are alleging.
Instead of reclaiming their image, Blake and Ryan exposed just how out of touch and narcissistic they really are. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Taylor Swift. Blake's bestie and professional grudge holder has been rumored to play a key role in the scandal. According to insiders, Taylor may have encouraged Blake's attack on Justin Baldoni, potentially with help from her team at WME. And let's not forget the Deadpool premiere, where Ryan Reynolds flew out multiple cast members as a reward for joining the anti-Baldoni smear campaign. Sound familiar? It's the same playbook Taylor has used in her own feuds. But here's the thing. Taylor's involvement, if true, raises serious questions. Why would someone as powerful as Taylor Swift get involved in a petty Hollywood feud? Some speculate it's about loyalty, while others believe it's about control. Either way, It's a bad look for Taylor, who's built her brand on being a champion for women. If she's really behind the smear campaign, it's a betrayal of everything she claims to stand for. Blake's lawsuit is a masterclass in contradictions. She claims she never wanted creative control, but her own texts tell a different story. In June 2023, she dropped 17 non-negotiable demands on the production team, essentially holding the entire movie hostage unless they gave her editorial oversight.
You're not writing a script. You're not driving me into your narrative by using obscure quotations from a TEDx talk that he gave almost a decade ago. So this is how it opens. With help from Taylor Swift and WME did to Justin Baldoni, okay? You're not going to persuade decision. Who made that decision? Was it you? Because if it was you, okay, then it's time for you to introduce your actions to your consequences. Hello, action. Hello, consequence. Oh, it's so nice to meet each other. Yeah, the public noticed. The allegations first, and then you tried to make input and change the direction of the film. Are you saying that the chicken had to come before the egg? Yes, sweetie, the chicken had...
What kind of actress demands final say over edits? Someone who's not just an actress, she's a control freak. And let's not forget Ryan Reynolds' sneaky takeover of the movie's marketing. Suddenly his production company was in charge, and Justin Baldoni was completely erased from the promotional posters. Who could have possibly orchestrated that move? Blake acts like she had no power, but within months of her tantrum demands, Sony changed their entire approach to suit her. If that's not a red flag, what is? At this point, it's painfully obvious that Blake's entire case is built on lies. She has no real evidence, just excuses and contradictions. But the real tragedy here isn't Blake's downfall. It's the damage she's done to real victims of abuse and harassment. By weaponizing the #MeToo movement for her own personal gain, Blake has made it harder for people to believe actual abuse cases. This is exactly why people hesitate to come forward, because of frauds like Blakelively, who use serious issues as a publicity stunt. But the story doesn't end here. In the final part, we'll uncover how Blake's lawsuit is doomed to fail, the shocking details of her evidence tampering, and what this means for her career.
To leak HR complaints, which made it very clear exactly who you were talking about in each instance, Jenny Slate and Isabel Ferreira. And now you're trying to pretend here that you just want to protect that. As you guys orchestrated having a bunch of people unfollow him in the style of your best friend Taylor Swift, and the public noticed and began asking questions, going, what's going on? We're noticing that Blake is not appearing alongside the lead character, Justin Baldoni. To believe in your narrative that you were staging, you created the crisis, and now you're complaining.
Stay tuned, because this scandal is far from over. If there's one thing that's become crystal clear in this legal drama, it's that Blakelively isn't just lying. She's actively manipulating evidence to fit her narrative. One of the most shocking revelations is the deletion of key text messages from her amended complaint. These texts, which originally painted Justin Baldoni in a negative light, mysteriously disappeared when the public started questioning their authenticity. For example, a message where Baldoni allegedly said he doesn't realize how lucky he is right now, and another where Blake urged someone to press on him how effing lucky, were completely removed. Why? Because Baldoni revealed the context of these messages, showing they weren't as damning as Blake made them out to be. Instead of owning up to her lies, Blake chose to erase the evidence altogether. This isn't just selective editing, it's full-blown evidence tampering. And if Blake had real proof, why would she need to delete anything? The answer is simple. She doesn't have proof, and she knows it. Blake's claim of having multiple witnesses who felt uncomfortable on set is another glaring red flag. She says these women will testify at trial, but only after she subpoenas them against their will. Let's be real. If these witnesses truly supported Blake, why wouldn't they come forward voluntarily? The answer is clear. They don't exist, or they don't back her claims. What's even more telling is that Blake outed these so-called witnesses herself in past leaks. She mentioned a young actress who played the underage version of Lily Bloom, which can only be Isabella Ferreira. So much for protecting anonymity, right? Blake's attempt to create an army of invisible witnesses backfired, and now she's left scrambling to explain why no one is standing by her side. Legal experts are already calling Blake's lawsuit a lost cause. From forum shopping to evidence tampering, her case is riddled with contradictions and red flags. Moving the lawsuit from Texas to New York was a desperate move, and legal analysts are laughing at the stunt. If Blake's case was so strong, why is she so scared of sticking to one courtroom? The answer is simple. She knows her case is falling apart. And let's not forget the PR disaster that followed. Blake and Ryan Reynolds' coordinated smear campaign The mass unfollowing of Justin Baldoni and the failed SNL appearance all backfired spectacularly. Instead of reclaiming their image, they exposed just how manipulative and narcissistic they really are. The public isn't buying Blake's victim narrative, and neither are the courts. The real tragedy here isn't Blake's downfall. It's the damage she's done to real victims of abuse and harassment. By weaponizing the #MeToo movement for her own personal gain, Blake has made it harder for people to believe actual abuse cases. This is exactly why people hesitate to come forward. Because of frauds like Blakelively, who use serious issues as a publicity stunt. Blake's lawsuit isn't just a legal circus. It's a betrayal of everything the #MeToo movement stands for. Real victims deserve justice, not to have their struggles exploited for fame and power. And by dragging Isabella Ferreira into this mess, Blake has shown just how far she's willing to go to protect her own image. At this point, it's clear that Blakelively's lawsuit is doomed to fail. She has no real evidence, just excuses and contradictions. Her attempts to manipulate public perception have backfired, and the internet isn't buying her lies. Blake thought she could rewrite the truth, but the receipts don't lie. She got caught in her own web of deceit, and now she's paying the price. But here's the final twist. Blake still thinks she can get away with it. She's stubbornly playing the victim, hoping that if she throws enough nonsense into the air, people will just accept it without question. But the public isn't stupid, and neither are the courts. Blake's lawsuit is a house of cards, and it's only a matter of time before it collapses. So, what's the takeaway from this scandal? It's a cautionary tale about power, manipulation, and the dangers of believing everything you see. Blakelively thought she was untouchable, but the internet proved her wrong, and in the process, she exposed just how far some people will go to protect their image. But more importantly, this story is a reminder to question the narratives we're fed. Not every victim is innocent, and not every hero is real. Blake's downfall isn't just about her. It's about the culture of celebrity worship that allows people like her to thrive. And until we start holding people accountable, stories like this will keep happening. If you found this story shocking, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into Hollywood's biggest scandals. Let us know in the comments. Do you think Blakelively's lawsuit will hold up in court, or is it destined to fail? And stay tuned, because in the world of Hollywood, the drama never ends.
Never consider that there would be a social consequence for her to bear because of that. And that's what happened. And so the crisis PR team never had to implement any plan because Blake being evil backfired, is the story. A narcissist targeted someone who she felt was weak, and it backfired on her.